Okay, my guest today is Cameron McLellan, who's from Melbourne, a CEO, well, from Bairnsdale in country Victoria originally, but is now a CEO of a wealth education firm, and I'll get Cam to explain a little bit more about what they do there at Open Wealth Creation, but also an entrepreneur of note across a number of businesses. Cam, how many businesses have you had in the time? You've been on the BRW Fast growth companies how many times?
5 times now in the Fast 100 and Fast Starters. But businesses, probably had 6 or 7 businesses. Probably 5 have done well, 2 haven't. So you weren't by your mistakes. One of those things, Trevor.
And property investment is your go?
Property investment's the core of what I've been doing since the late 90s myself. While I had different businesses through the telco and IT industry, property is really what we've done all along the way. So it's good. It's very good. Now,
today I want to chat to you about content marketing and social media. Now, in the interest of disclosure, Cam's been a client. I've helped Open Wealth Creation with just about, I guess, a bit more of a strategic approach to their content efforts and social media and how it all comes together, and a little bit of coaching along the way. But ultimately, it's been Cam and the team that have been doing all the work and putting themselves out there. So I want to unpack a little bit. It's been probably 12 months since we've worked together, Cam, and I think that's a really good time to revisit and to say, well, what has been working for you, what hasn't, and let's see, well, what did you do at the start? So can you say very briefly what Open Wealth Creation does and what your marketing efforts were, and then prior to you sort of getting more into the content and social media arena?
Sure. So we've got 2 divisions within the Open Group. We've got a funds management division, so we do large-scale developments, commercial developments, apartment high-rises. The division that I run, it started out as a hobby back in probably 2004, which is just guiding family and friends how to build a portfolio of 5 or 6 medium-density residential properties. So I got very disillusioned with the property industry back in the early 2000s with a few untoward characters through the industry. Close friend lost a fair amount of money, so set up the business so we hold investors' hands step by step throughout the way. While we're not a charity, we don't have to pillage mum and dad investors like some of us in the industry. So I am very vocal about pointing out the good and bad within the industry, basically because it's an industry that I love. So Open Wealth, we teach people how to leverage equity, to duplicate portfolios of property, but to keep their own home safe and keep it in the bank's hands. So nice, safe, slow investing.
Okay, it's a good message for a lot of people. But obviously, as you say, you're in an industry where hasn't got the best reputation.
Frustrates the hell out of me.
I can imagine it. And there are obviously a lot of good operators and genuine people. I'm not saying everyone's there's a shark. Too many sharks there, but it is an industry that has attracted its fair share of sharks over the journey, and that's what people read about and see on the TV and on the news and the Today Tonights and that, but it's because a lot of it is hard sell and very opaque. That'd be fair to say. So people that are clients in that particular industry never tend to get the full picture. So transparency is not really high on the agenda. But also, there's a lot to learn. Like, just to learn this sort of stuff, to get your head around it from an education point of view. As you said, you've gone through it and you've lived and breathed it for gosh knows how many years, and it takes time to learn this stuff. Yeah,
if you think about the industry itself, so over someone's investing lifespan, when the property cycle usually rotates around 7 to 10 years. Thinking about the average lifespan of an investor, we're talking 25 to 55. You're really only talking about 3 to 4 cycles. So by the time someone actually learns the process of investing, they're falling off the perch. So they're not passing that on to their kids.
Yep.
Why does the industry bring out so many untoward people? It's because we're not talking about buying lollipops. These are houses, serious amounts of money we're talking about. So serious amounts of money in the industry obviously brings people who want to bring shortcuts. Take into account that the life cycle of people to be able to build property, I realised, and I spoke to my wife Felicity probably 5 years ago, and I said, I really need to document something down for the kids. Should I fall off the perch? The 15 years worth of investment knowledge that I'd gathered really through other investors and built my own strategy it would just be gone to waste. So I went about content marketing probably the opposite way that most people do. I went and wrote a book first.
Oh, yeah, let's just go to the hard thing first.
Yeah, I didn't know there was such thing called content marketing. So I started out, I told Felicity I was going to write a book which is going to take a couple of months, basic guide on the safety of investing, and 12 months later I'm smacking away on the iPad late at night after night. But we've got something that is not hype form. It's got a set process on how to safely build a portfolio property. It gives them some basic schooling on the industry and then a step-by-step on how to do it. So that was my, I suppose, introduction to content marketing, that I went, oh, well, I've got all this information, how can I give it out there so other investors can benefit from the knowledge that I have?
Yep, and that's a good call. And it's, so just for the listeners, so you wrote this book called My 4-Year-Old, the property, the investor?
Correct, My 4-Year-Old, the property investor.
Yep,
correct.
And wrote it essentially for your children in the first instance, and it was just an outpouring of all your ideas and the process and the system that you'd worked out and that you'd made money on. Yeah,
correct. And it wasn't until, so I've got obviously investment consultants that work for me and guide clients on building portfolios of property. But my brother, I've been guiding him on building a portfolio of property over about a decade, and he's probably one of the laziest guys I know, so he'll just say, yep, another one can, and take it from there. But it wasn't until, and I've been talking to him about property for years, obviously we would catch up, but I gave him a copy of the book, and he came back, and he didn't ring me, he rang one of the investment consultants and said, all right, I know what I need to do now, I need to do A, B, C, and can you help me? And I called him and I said, I've been telling you this for years, why now are you calling me? He goes, oh no, I read your book, I understand it now. It's like, oh, great, fun.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. And in terms of building a profile and an expertise and building your credibility, a book is a fantastic way to do it. So you've started off on the tough one, but of course that gave you the drive and I guess the taste for creating content and sharing your story and your expertise and your experience. So let's jump. I suppose we're jumping forward a little bit, but not too much. And we got together, and it was about how do you then take that online. So put the book to one side, and you'd be promoting that. Redoing your website to make it more open and connected and friendly and content rich. So a blog has formed very much the part that I guess the hub of your content efforts. How have you found the blogging process? You're obviously all for doing this. So this sharing of knowledge was a barrier that we didn't have to get over. But that tends to be a big barrier that people have got because they say, well, that's my IP. I want to hold that in because I need to sell that. So how have you formed in your mind? Was there a barrier in that instance or not?
No, I think I put that down to the key to all the success we've had in content marketing and the business and why it's taken off the way it has since we've been able to provide that. Because I wasn't reliant on making any money from the book and I wasn't reliant on making money from providing properties to people, I didn't care. So it was literally a matter of, I'll give everyone the knowledge, the tools and check sheets. If they want to go and do it themselves, that's cool. If they want to use our services, that's fine as well. And I think by taking that approach of just saying, I'm happy to give you everything. There's not one thing in here that I won't provide to someone, and I'll do that for free because I've got nothing better to do, really. But once I realised, I didn't know what a blog was really before, 12 months ago. And I realised there's out there who love property as much, or I can see them like I was 15 years ago, keen and eager, but not knowing which path to take, and just seeing the difference make by providing that content to them. And that was really, the blog is obviously now is the core of the information that I put out there when something's new is happening in the industry, when the basic steps of investing. So being able to provide that information, and everything else seems to hinge around that, whether it be Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever it might be. So there was no barrier. So
And so does the blog drive? Is the blog now close to 12 months old? Is it driving traffic? Have you got analytics in place to look at that?
Yeah, it's driving a huge amount of traffic. So we're getting somewhere between 200 to 500 new subscribers to our newsletter every month. It's phenomenal nowadays, the amount of increase. And I think it just is that I started out and on the blog, we put on there free information, so people don't have to give out their information to me for me to provide stuff. So take it for free.
Okay.
What that does is it builds credibility. People understand that I've got no hidden agenda. They then come back, and once they've absorbed the information, they're talking to me. They already know me. They know my ethics. They know the honesty. They have a good understanding that we're authorities in the industry before they've even made contact with us as to utilise our services. So I think that's the key. People understanding your business and what you stand for was just mind-blowing for me that I could provide that sort of information out and get such a warm response back.
And tell me this, is there a set pattern in terms of your blogging, how many times you blog a week, or what do you find works for you after your journey thus far? It
really goes in spurts. I try to, and it all comes back down to, I try to keep a real balance with family life. I don't like to work more than probably 25 hours a week. So it's family life. So if I'm busy at work, my blogging sort of slows down a little bit, but I like to get sort of 2 to 3 blog posts out per week. There's no real pattern that we've sort of established at this point, and that's really through just lack of discipline to a large degree. But if I see something that sparks my interest, I can't help sitting up late at night and tapping out an article.
Yep.
So while I'd like to say that there was a set pattern that was due to success, times a week that we did it, or times that we put out the newsletter, we haven't got that regimented at this point in time.
But the fact is, there's momentum and flow.
Yeah, there's not a week that goes by that I don't sort of put something new on.
And you've got other people now in the office starting to do some writing for you as well?
Yeah, I'm very conscious that I don't want myself to be seen as the Pied Piper or the pinnacle or the face of the business. So I've got 30 people in the business here who know as much about property as I do. So why not utilise their expertise and have the company seen as an authority in the industry rather than individual? So I'm very conscious about making sure I interview staff on videos, get them to write. We've got different strengths. I definitely prefer writing while I do video content. Writing's what I enjoy, where I've got other guys who just present really well on video compared to myself. So getting the staff amongst it's really important.
So let's talk about the video, because your videos are, when I say basic in a good way, is that you have a whiteboard and either yourself or someone else, usually Michael often, one of your colleagues, you're talking to the person, it feels like, that one person who's watching, and then you're actually, it's almost a bit school teacherish in terms of, drawing, making your points on a whiteboard and literally taking people through like it's a classroom. And you do that reasonably often. What sort of reaction have you had to those videos? Because that's when it gets right down into the educational nuts and bolts, where some of the other content is a little bit more probably thought leadership. This is more instructional.
It's humbling at some points. I mean, you're putting videos out there, and I know we've got a lot of clients who I know watch the videos and take the information in, because you get to know your clients personally. But it's when you get a comment back on the blog that from someone that you've never heard of and never know, and it's it's quite nice to get a bit of feedback that someone's actually appreciating what you do out there, and I think that gives you the drive to do it again and again. But I think I don't try and make it a high production. I haven't got a remote to turn on and off my camera, so I'll hit it and wander in front of the camera and start rambling on. I might have 2 or 3 different dot points that I want to cover off for that day, and once again, it'll just be something usually that someone's talked about in the office, or the client's had a question to one of the team members, and I've gone, I should be able to answer that. I'll just scribble something out on the board and explain whatever the strategy may be.
And so the other point with that too is that it's showing you and the guys there that, you don't wear flashy suits. You haven't got a gold tooth that I know of that shines in the light. You wear T-shirts and polos and jeans, and that's who you are. And so the video is a really good way to show people, this is me and this is my thinking and this is how I can help you. And if feel free to watch and take it away with you and do something with it if you like. Once
again, going back to the core of why we started the business, I despise the slick salesman. It's all about you. So I wear jeans to work every day, and it's not because I want to put on a casual persona. I just feel more comfortable in jeans, and really, making money doesn't care whether I'm in a suit or whether I'm in jeans. You know, my property portfolio doesn't really judge me on my attire is. But no, we've got a good atmosphere in here, and I think just that honesty of just being relaxed and not trying to over impress shines through within an industry where everyone's trying to be sharper than the next person.
Yeah, and so one of the other things that we did together, which I think is again, as you said, you put the information up for free. There's no what's called a lead gate, which is someone has to give an email to get access to the information that's on the blog on a weekly basis that you're updating. But you did shoot a number of videos. I think it was about 10 or 12 or something. Which is really digging down a lot deeper in terms of information and giving people a lot more nuts and bolts. And again, you're giving that out for free, but that's where for people that want that information, they're probably a little bit more serious, and that's they then give you an email address so they can then be a bit more of a premium member, I suppose, still for free, but receive a newsletter.
Correct. So we thought, well, obviously people take content different ways, so we thought, I'll shoot out a weekly newsletter, and so people subscribe to that newsletter. I thought, well, what additional add-on value can we provide them than just getting another newsletter? Like everyone, how many newsletters can you subscribe to that's just content? So I thought, we can create a series of videos which actually steps people through from the idea of investing in a property all the way through to portfolio management.
This is your system.
Yeah. So these are the exact steps that I take when adding a property to my own personal portfolio. So there's all the checks and measures. I'm assessing a city market, an area, an individual property, how to assemble a team, how to get finance pre-approval. And so there's a video series on there. There's probably 13 videos, I think it is. And once again, they can have that for free. And then if they're enjoying the newsletter, fantastic. We get a very low unsubscribe rate. So it's maybe one or two people every now and then.
So newsletter, again, is good content, and it's just building that day-to-day, when I say day-to-day, I don't know when you put it out every fortnight, it sounds like, and it comes through regularly, and that's that link that people have got because they're hungry for information in a space where there's a lot of information to provide.
Yeah, I think the key of part of our success and how it's really sort of steamrolled from here is because of the honesty of really providing every bit of information and not holding anything back and poking fun or poking the industry where it's needed to really. We've been picked. Australian property investor, there'd be, I think, 5 or 6 different magazines that I've sort of got regular columns in now. And it's just that same, raw information, and having those sort of publications pick you up and then refer back to your website obviously gives you a huge amount of traffic as well, and also obviously sets you as an authority within the industry. So that's really kick-started things again. So
you've found then that by putting the content out there that you've now got a regular column, as you say, in a magazine or an online magazine that's probably the preeminent property investment magazine in the country. And because again it's layer upon layer, you've been willing to put that information out there. They can see what you're writing and where you're heading to, and more importantly your philosophy, and that's a good fit with that magazine. So therefore, one of the benefits of blogging has actually been reaching a broader audience through the preeminent property magazine, and which in turn fuels your blog back again. So it's a nice circular thing the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, correct. And the publications have all got online, so they take our videos and they'll merge them in and reuse those. But they love good content. Yeah, that's the basic of it.
And now with the book, now you've got the book for sale, so that's something that I think you may have given it out to some of your clients, but basically it's a book for sale. Yeah. But when you also attend property expos and things like that, investment expos around the country, one of the things you did was do a cut down version and a hard copy, which is also a free download. But so it's a mini ebook, I suppose you'd call it, That's people can go to your site, openwealthcreation.com.au, and if nothing else, take away a valuable, got good information in it, a mini ebook, the downloadable free PDF with no emails or anything like that. But you've also gone ahead and repurposed that or remixed it and printed it off and do that as a giveaway in face-to-face situations.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I'm probably a little bit traditional. I read every day. I do like a book. I've tried Kindle and different bits and pieces, but I'm a little bit old school, so maybe it was selfish. I just thought other people had something hard in their hand. But once again, yeah, the mini guide is just something we put on there. I think it's about 45 pages, 45-minute read thereabouts, and you can download that free off the website. But yeah, at the expos, I thought, what sort of content, rather than expecting people to come up and talk to us and understand what we do, I'll just give some information away. And that value add out of, I think, the last expo, we would have given out thousands and thousands of them, and it's amazing once people have had that taste of information and they get to know the core of yourself and your brand, and rather than giving them a handful or a brochure, which is just the normal sale of garbage, give them something of worth.
Of value. So long form content works as well as a simple 3-minute video.
Yeah,
they work together. Just one more thing on the blog before I sort of go a bit more veer into social media. But, a lot of about writing a blog is, on one hand, you've got the SEO people that, what are the frequently asked questions, and you provide that utility around that. And obviously that's something you'd probably doing, probably less so from an SEO perspective. You might correct me on that, but you're certainly answering people's questions and you've got that good utility style about you in that education, instructional, how to, all of that sort of stuff. But on the other hand, you've found your voice, which a lot of people find, I think, hard in writing a blog. Another thing is, well, what do I write about? And they try and write it too formally, which is not really what a blog does. Now, I'm just going to read out one of your headlines because I'm really starting to like your headlines. Not every headline is like this, but this is pretty cool. And it's a great example of how your radar is on now in terms of that will make a good story, and I can turn that into a blog post or a video or something. So this is, what does Prince Frederick, gay rights, Secret Service police, jealous lovers, and the MCG have to do with property? I can tell you what, no SEO in that whatsoever, but it's a damn good headline that you have to read. What does Prince Frederick, gay rights, Secret Service police, jealous lovers, and the MCG have to do with property? Let us know what it has to do with property.
You just got to know, don't you?
You do.
That was one.
Maybe people have to go. Maybe people have to go to the blog to read that. And what I'll do, just in the interest of time, I shall put a link to that story in the show notes. So let's.
That was all those things happening one day to me. So there you go,
mate. You're doing it all, and I like that. I like how you bring the stories in, and that's again that personalisation. You talk about your kids, and you bring that back to a story in terms of a lesson that can be learned from property investment and being patient and taking the long-term view. And so I just want to talk about social media too. So my belief is that you have the content on one side, and if there's a Venn diagram, the next circle into it is the social media, and that's the participation as a human being and adding value and sharing links and of course socializing the content that you do create. When we started, you were sort of had the Twitter was really as the corporate name, Open Wealth Creation, and the logo was your avatar, and you're around about 350 followers or something, and not much action, and a couple of things that you've done over the journey. 12 months down the track, you've got 5,000 followers. But one of the things that we did there is that it's your Twitter handle as the owner of the business and the person creating a lot of the content. Your bio is very you. But obviously there's a link to the business as well. So people who want to know more about you can know that you run this business called Open Wealth Creation. But did you feel that making it more about you and your personality made a big difference on Twitter?
Yeah, it was. I really like Twitter as opposed to some of the other social mediums, just because you have got that conversation backwards and forwards. So when I started conversing with people originally, and I sort of discovered Twitter 12 months ago, and started putting content on there and talking to people, it felt weird being the company talking to someone. And I always felt strange if I was talking to someone on Twitter or sharing some information and I was sharing it with the company name rather than individual. It just seemed sort of fake, or I couldn't communicate or feel some sort of connection with that individual.
Yep.
So that's why I went, no, this is not right. If I'm not after Twitter to jam my company on people, I'm after Twitter to provide content to them. So that's me doing it. That's not the company. Yes, the links that I might put on there, maybe blog links back to my website, so it'll drive people back to my website. But really, the content I'm putting out there is just talking to people as me. So that's why I sort of changed it back to my handle.
And how have you found in terms of, I know we've discussed this, a bit of backwards and forwards on things, people now coming to you asking you questions on Twitter?
Yeah, it's always, and you've only got limited characters on Twitter too, so I do get, I put my email address out there pretty regularly, and people shoot me emails because property takes a lot longer to sort of respond with some things when you're sort of answering questions. But every day I'm getting sort of people asking odd questions about this or that, and some of them, they're on the right track and they just need a little bit of tweaking, and others are going into the depths of hell, the worst property investment ideas possible. So if I can curb them back a little bit and stop people losing money, well, I've probably done something good.
And so let's get into the ROI question, because you've put a bit of effort in. It's been 12 months. You've followed a path. How's it been for you?
Yeah, good. If you talk sales rates, I suppose, so time it takes, I could easily, with the content now, I mean, I don't spend enough time, but I've put additional staff on now to take away large portions of my role of what I do day to day, and I can quite easily spend a day just, talking to people on content marketing. That's really what I love doing. So the time it takes to set up your blog initially and to write articles and just put information out there and share other people's good content as well is probably another thing worth noting. It does take a lot of time. It takes more time than it does money. So there's an effort there to go into it. But the business now is, in the last 12 months, we've 4 times the sales rate we had before. While I put it down to general sales practices being followed, we couldn't have had that without setting ourselves as authorities within the industry.
Yep.
So when my investment consultants are talking to people, they're all warm leads. The people know the business, they've tasted the business, they understand our core values and what we do. So really, the guys are just ensuring they're on the right track and assisting them on their investment journey. That's
a pretty incredible jump. So 4 times. Do you just want to take us through that again? 4 times the.
So our sales rate. So if we were doing one house a month before, we're doing 4 houses a month now. Now they're not the numbers, but they're the sort of volumes that we'll push out. And we've got more staff starting out over the next few months.
And so it's a two-way thing. On one hand, it's attracting people to the brand through Twitter and just natural content floating up into Google and people finding you and recommendation and other people sharing your content. So you're reaching new people. But on the other hand, the people who you're reaching, whether they're new or old or they know you from before, because it's quite an emotional and a rational decision that people have to go through, and credibility is key. So they've done a lot of the reading by the time they get to you. There's less, I guess, selling, as it were, and a bit more, that's in air quotes, and a bit more, continued conversation, because they already know, like, and trust you, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly right. The consultants we've got now, apart from sales people, they're 2 of them have got teaching backgrounds, so they're really educational. So they wouldn't be good if they had to sell. That's hard. So if they can sit down and they've had all those initial barriers broken down for them, that the normal salesperson in any industry would have to go through, so establishing yourself firstly, your company, and then your product.
Yeah.
If 90% of that's been taken care of before you actually get into a conversation with a prospective client, it's fairly straightforward. Really, you just need to see whether your services match what they need. If they do, great. If they don't, we'll move on.
Yep, that's fantastic. And Twitter, I know that you like Twitter. Do you get business from Twitter? Does Twitter work for your business?
Yeah, we get a huge amount of business from Twitter. So people that I maybe talk, and I don't this is the big thing. I don't go out to provide content into Twitter trying to attract business. This would be the biggest mistake anyone could make. So all I do is put good content out there. But every month we sell multiple properties through people on Twitter who come to us and said, I'm looking at doing this, can you guide us on whatever it may be. So Twitter is very good for the business.
Yep. And any direct links from, like relationships you've built on Twitter that have led directly, like any direct ROI, just not that you're, as you said, after it, but relationships, you build relationships. Every connection is a potential business or social opportunity, as Iggy Pintado says. And have you experienced any of that?
Yeah, I so do the coffee catch up after a conversation on Twitter. I'm happily married, so it's all business related, mate. But I do catch up with quite a few people. Got up this week with an editor of one of the other major publications, and that was all through Twitter. So I think anyone in business, obviously having industry publications support the content you're putting out there, establishes you as, so while it's good just to put content out through the standard means, anyone can do that. What I've found is by continually putting good content out, all of a sudden the industry bodies are coming in, taking in content and putting that out for you. So it's all these other industry associations or publications basically doing your marketing for you.
Yeah.
So they're the relationships that I've started to get pretty close to and have coffee meetings and catch up with different people. So yeah, it's good.
And so Twitter for you is more about the relationships you build and what happens from that, whether they come directly in or it becomes more of a media play or other people sharing your content. It's all of the above.
Yeah, but you got to keep taking it back to the basics of. I just like talking about property. So if someone wants talking about property, then whether I'm talking over Twitter or whether they want to catch up as they need more information, or I interviewed the editor of one of the online publications. She's just taken new roles, so I thought I'll turn a coffee catch up into a blog post. I'm just going to be on interview with her to come out soon. So I'm trying to grab a bit of content for myself through these meetings as well.
Absolutely. So is that the next play for you now, is to do more probably interviews or video, or continue what you're doing? Where do you see it from here at 12 months on?
Yeah, I've in my role now, I've had to put on probably two people, as I mentioned, to take over probably half the day-to-day tasks that I do. So I have to see over the next couple of months being able to spend more time on content marketing, but understand the different means. And I'll probably talk to yourself a bit more about that, Trev, but Google Plus, more into Facebook, which I don't do a huge amount on. So those other means to basically work out podcasts, and I really enjoy the videos. I like getting those out there. I like watching videos, but I am better writing myself. So I think just spending more time on it, and it goes back to the core of going, it's what I want to do. I want to spend time putting information out there, and that's what will enhance our business at the same point. So that's not a bad thing. So
there's a purpose. So starting off with that purpose is really important for people.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, have fun. Yeah.
Well, mate, thank you very much for your time. I know you could have been writing a blog post as we did this, but
right, yeah.
But thanks again for your time and really opening up the kimono and unpacking a bit of what you've been doing, and letting people understand a little bit more about content marketing in action, because as we know, there's a lot of theory around it, but seeing people and talking to people who have been doing it for a period of time and getting results is fantastic. So thank you again for sharing that. Much appreciated.
Cheers, mate. You're welcome.
Thank you.